Hey ladies and gentlemen, Mr. T here, and we are back for our second video of me ranking my favorite Pokemon by type. So for our first video, if you didn't watch it yet, it was my number 18 or my least favorite type, and that was the Fairy type. Not a big fan of Fairy, never been a big fan of Fairy. I was hoping for a light type, like light dark and stuff like that, but they gave us Fairy instead, so not a big fan. So if you want to know more about that, go watch that video. So my next video, this is my second to least favorite type. This one would be number 17, and that is the Poison type. I've never been a fan of the Poison type. I mean, I like, there's some Pokemon in the Poison typing that I really like, and I hold them high on just a general list when I rank Pokemon. But as a type as a whole, I've just never been a fan of it. I've always felt it was lackluster. Plus, honestly, when I think Poison, the first thing I think of is snakes. And I am not a snake person, which is interesting because I live in Arizona where we have like the deadliest snakes. But I'm just not a snake person, and I know other animals, obviously, and other insects have poison and stuff in them. But I just think snakes when I think poison, and I'm just like, yep, I'm good. Don't want anything to do with that. So I'm sure you could probably figure out which Pokemon are not going to be on my favorite list. So quick refresher of the rules. I'm going to show you 4 Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon that is pure, so it only has that one type. Then I'm going to show you 2 Pokemon that have a dual type. The first one is Poison is the primary, and then on the second Pokemon, Poison is the secondary type. And then I'm going to show you my least favorite Pokemon that is pure Poison. So to start us off, my favorite pure type Pokemon that's Poison would have to be Nidorino. Now, the Nidoran line, both male and female, I think are just awesome Pokemon. They have a cool evolution chain for both sides, and I think it's cool how they have a male and female version, and they gave them their own separate evolution lines. I wish they did that a little bit more. Most Pokemon now, if they're female versus male, they usually just give them a different, like, minor look or skin, but that's it. I mean, obviously you have your few where it's like you have Gallade versus Gardevoir and stuff like that, but they don't really do full-blown multiple evolution lines depending on male and female, which I think would be kind of cool if they brought that back with some Pokemon. But the reason I like Nidorino and then Nidoking, I'm sure you can guess the next Pokemon on my list. But the reason I like them over Nidorina and Nidoqueen is, one, you can't breed Nidorina and Nidoqueen. So if you want if you want to do like a shiny hunt or something, you can't breed them, which is kind of interesting because it looks like they would be a Pokemon to breed. So you actually have to breed a Nidoking if you want a female Nidoran egg. So that's one thing that kind of throws a monkey wrench into it. Plus, the other thing too is I really like purple. Purple's one of my favorite colors. So the fact that Nidorino and Nidoking are purple just kind of adds to the aesthetic. Plus, one of my favorite things about Nidorino is he is the original Pokemon battle. For those of you who know, you know. Gengar being the other one. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you are way too young. You shouldn't probably be on YouTube or on the internet without your parent permission. So my favorite dual type Poison, where Poison is the primary type, I'm sure you probably guessed it by now, is Nidoking. Nidoking is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. I'd probably rank him easily in the top 20 of my favorite Pokemon. He's a cool, solid Pokemon. He's great in battle. The Poison ground typing is great, and he just looks cool. Plus, again, purple's one of my favorite colors, so I like the purple aesthetic on him. So he's just an all-around solid Pokemon. The whole Nidoran line, both sides, Nidoking, Nidoqueen, male, female Nidoran, and then Nidorina, Nidorino, they're all just cool Pokemon. I think one of the big reasons why I picked Nidoking is, the coloring purple. Plus, he just looks cool. And then I'd use a few other words, but I don't want to get censored on YouTube. All right. Now, my favorite Poison Pokemon, where Poison is the secondary type, would probably have to be Beedrill. I like Beedrill for a lot of reasons. I'm not a big bee fan, and I'm not a big bug fan. Hint, hint for the next video. But Beedrill just looks cool. He's got cool aesthetics. He looks cool for being a bee. He looks actually more like a wasp than a bee. And there was a few anime episodes where he came in. and he looked cool in the anime, so it was fun to watch him in the Pokemon anime. It's fun to use him in the game. Plus, I also like Beedrill and Butterfree because they evolve so early. So if you need an early game Pokemon, they're easy to get and they're easy to train and evolve. Plus, they're pretty solid Pokemon. So it's not like you're getting a weakling right off the bat. They are pretty solid in battle if you know how to use them. Right? Now, my last favorite Pokemon, or my least favorite Pokemon for the poison typing, I'm sure some of you can guess it's probably going to be a snake Pokemon, and if you guess that, you're correct. My least favorite poison type Pokemon, pure poison type Pokemon, would have to be Seviper. Now, I bounced around with this a little bit here and there. I thought about putting Ekans or Arbok, but I'm like, you know what? They're nostalgic. They're iconic. Things like that. Plus, I hate snakes, but they do look kind of cool. Plus, if you notice, Arbok actually changes his skin, like the little red eye things on his torso area. He changes them for every region, so go back and check it out. It's kind of cool once you notice it. So that's why I didn't put them. Plus, I figured if I put the original snake Pokemon as my least favorite, I'd probably have people yelling at me and screaming at me. So I threw Seviper in there. One of the big reasons I also threw Seviper in there was, for those of you who know, most Pokemon games that come out, they come out in pairs, and there's usually game-specific Pokemon. Well, one of my favorite games of all time, or series of all time, would have to be the Hoenn region and the Ruby Sapphire, and then Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I prefer Omega Ruby for several reasons, and I actually like Zangoose instead of Seviper. So Zangoose and Seviper were the regional variants, depending on which game you got. Seviper was from Alpha or Sapphire. I was more of a Omega Ruby guy, or just a Ruby guy, depending on which generation you were playing in. So that was another reason why I chose Seviper as my least favorite. And again, I'm just not a snake fan. I can't stand snakes. All right. Well, that's my number 17, my 4 favorite, or my 3 favorite, my least favorite. Stick around next week for number 16, and if you paid attention to this video, you might be able to figure out and tell what it is. So, as always, thank you, and stick around for the next video.